Okay, Haley, we'll turn it over to you. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for having me. This is a very great group, and glad to see some familiar faces as well. It always makes you feel a little better when you're chatting with some people. But like I said, I'm with the University of Wyoming Extension. I think I have the longest job title of anybody who works for the University of Wyoming, so I'll let you guys know. But don't worry, there's not going to be a quiz at the end. So my full title is I'm the J. Kemmer Wyoming Outdoor Recreation, Tourism, and Hospitality Worth Institute Extension Educator. And with that big mouthful of words, what that really boils down to, which what it means is that I have a really fun job, is that I'm able to work across the entire state of Wyoming. So like I said, I'm based out of Douglas, Wyoming, out of the Douglas Casper area. But I get to work with our entire state, being able to support our communities, organizations, individuals, youth, whether that be through outdoor recreation, tourism, and hospitality. I grew up in Wyoming. I am from Douglas and went to the University of Wyoming, moved back, and now here I am working for the university. And so being able to just see the impact that outdoor recreation and tourism has had on our state, not just from, my time here working with the university, working with communities in this aspect, but also, I was driving down to Laramie this morning and thinking about, back in middle school and back in high school, like the experiences we had and how, outdoor recreation, it really shapes not just our visitor economy here in Wyoming, but a lot of, for our residents. Many of you guys, even, those who are not in Wyoming, but also in the West, as well as, other people joining us, many of you guys noted that, having, the sunshine and the ability to get out, although we might be a little bit worried about what the summer will bring. But, this ability to get out and to enjoy our natural spaces and it's a part of who we are, and I feel like really a part of who we are, not just in Wyoming but in the West, as well as even in the entire United States. So I do not have any slides or anything to present, but I am going to drop a few links into the chat to give you guys some more information. So there you should be able to have a link to our J. Kemmer Worth Institute page. So my position is very unique as that I am, hired by and paid for through the Worth Institute and do work for them, but then also housed under Extension, which means that I have, the ability to work with Extension educators throughout the state, like Melissa or other wonderful community development or ag and natural resource 4-H educators to help support their communities in the way that they need. And a lot of what we've been able to see is this need for outdoor recreation, and that's a large part of what the J. Kemmer Worth Institute does. We have 3 pillars within our institute. So again, you can feel free sometime now or afterwards to check out that link, do a little bit more deep dive into our website, learn more about us. But our 3 pillars with the Worth Institute are applied research, education and workforce training, as well as this kind of extension and outreach. Really, all of those go together to, again, help support our Wyoming communities in the capacities that they need, whether that be, training the next generation of workforce within outdoor recreation, providing, opportunities for education or even just connection and networking, as well as that applied research and working with our communities, wanting to see if, these ideas of tourism and recreation, if they might actually be possible, and how they can do that sustainably within their communities. We hear it a lot in Jackson, in Wyoming, that oh well, we don't want to be Jackson, and I think that Jackson has its own charm and can always tell people, well, you don't have the Tetons in your backyard, so don't worry about that. But figuring out how, outdoor recreation can really play a role in these tourism strategies that a lot of our rural towns, especially as we are losing agriculture or other kinds of industries, that this can really supplement, a lot of that economic impact that we're seeing. So again, there's that link to the J. Kemmer Worth Institute. Would be happy to have more conversations about other things that we've done. So feel free to get a hold of me or get a hold of any of us. It's a great team over there with the Worth Institute doing a lot of really great work. My second link that I dropped in there is the Outdoor Recreation Report for 2025. So this is a report that is created by the J. Kemmer Worth Institute, in partnership with the Office of Outdoor Recreation and Wyoming State Parks here. This is something that they put out every year. I believe that the next one should be coming up within the next few months, which is really exciting. But again, I'm not going to walk through this whole report, but it is just a great snapshot to show you a little bit more about outdoor recreation in Wyoming, the impact that it's having, as well as, kind of highlights how this is working in a lot of our rural communities, which is why I wanted to highlight this. So our outdoor recreation in Wyoming, again, as you can see in that report, it is a huge part of what we do. Tourism is our second largest industry in Wyoming, and outdoor recreation alone generated about $2.2 billion in 2023, about 4.1% of our GDP, which is pretty amazing. Looking across, other states and stuff, Wyoming is definitely a leader in our outdoor recreation. We have a lot of, public land, open space, like many of you guys do. And it's really amazing to see a lot of these communities that I know I grew up going to, when I was younger, at sports events and all that kind of stuff, starting to turn towards and looking to how they can utilize outdoor recreation. Again, not just for those visitors coming in, but for the livability of their community. That outdoor recreation, it's not just for, to get more people into the heads and beds, which is always a great thing. But a lot of times we see that it's for our residents. This is something that, is really impacting them as well. But again, a couple other statistics that you are able to find in there is that, we've seen steady growth within our outdoor recreation industry from even 2012. There's always that little dip in COVID, but even during COVID, we saw, like many of you, people flocking out here to the West, because of our open spaces, because of our outdoor recreation opportunities. And I think that really opened the eyes of a lot of our rural communities to say, hey, this is something that we could do. Like we have a great trail system. Why are we not, extending that? Why are we not marketing that more? Why are we not, supporting some of these outdoor recreation endeavors that we love that might even come and bring some more people in, spend some more money, keep our shops running, keep our hotels going, all that great stuff. Another thing that we really, really enjoy seeing is that there is over 15,000 jobs supported in outdoor recreation in Wyoming, which is pretty amazing. Our entire tourism industry in Wyoming, there's about 33,000 jobs in the state as of this last year. And those just keep continuing to grow. Those, I believe, are from the great efforts of our community colleges, of the university, trying to support, our diverse workforce and, these students wanting these opportunities, these non-traditional, I don't want to work at a desk all day long, opportunities, especially related to outdoor recreation, but also through the efforts of all of our other great organizations, whether that be Extension or other state agencies, really supporting the workforce now and supporting the development of these types of opportunities, these types of businesses, and really showing people that this is an opportunity. It's not just something that, oh yeah, we all love to go hike and that's just a hobby. No, this can actually be your way of life. So again, I encourage you to take a deeper look at that report. Like I said, the 2026 report should be coming out shortly. Would love to share that out with you all again, just as we kind of look at how outdoor recreation has continued to impact our state and our local communities. But like I said, really why we see this being important, especially in our rural communities, it is not just that economic anchor or something to supplement an industry being lost in an area, but what I see as the biggest benefit is that livability. Like I said, a lot of times when I'm working with these rural communities, the first thing they say is, we don't want to be Jackson, or we don't want to be this whole big thing. But then when you start talking about outdoor recreation and tourism in the sense of creating livability for your residents, that, these trails that you're developing, or, this launching point within to your river, building this infrastructure, it's for the people. A lot of times it's our residents who are able to, be able to utilize these things and making them want to stay in our communities and stay longer. I know that's one of our big issues that we're dealing with in Wyoming, and I feel like we've been dealing with it since I was young, is, our younger workforce not being able to stay in the state or leaving right after they get their degree. And it's, how can we entice these people to continue to come back to our rural communities, to stay in our rural communities? And sometimes that option can be having these outdoor recreation opportunities. We see a lot of different trends throughout outdoor recreation, like many of you. And I feel like in the West, some of those big ones, snow sports, fishing, shooting sports, kayaking, hiking. Again, you can read more about that in the report. But these things, I'm here to just say that it's continuing to grow and continue to develop, which is why I think we're having conversations like we are today. And one of the key successes that I see throughout the state, and if you are looking at that outdoor recreation report, you should be able to scroll down and to be able to see there's this big map and it talks about the collaborative grant program. And so these collaboratives are it's been a wonderful and such an impactful thing within our state, where our Office of Outdoor Recreation has been able to help convene all of these different stakeholders within an area, within a region, or multiple communities to come together to support these outdoor recreation infrastructure, projects, events, different things going on. And it's been so great to be able to see how they expand. A lot of times, they are pulling in, nonprofits, they are pulling in, local, city council people. They're pulling in the local parks and rec, as well as just interested people, as well as people like our extension educators and our university professionals who are able to come in and help support the development of these outdoor recreation opportunities. So I know that I just have a couple minutes to kick this off, but what I wanted to say is that one of the big things that we've seen, especially in Wyoming, that success for having outdoor recreation as a tourism strategy for these rural communities is that collaboration and partnership. We all know that, Rome wasn't built in a day, and these outdoor recreation opportunities are not built in a day and not built by just one person or one organization. But really that key to success has been that collaboration and that support. And what's been so wonderful is seeing, that this support is not just within, these collaboratives. It can be, cross collaboratives or, cross agencies helping to support these opportunities, but just seeing those real successes within outdoor recreation. But not here to just say that outdoor recreation is the total way to go and that we all have to develop into outdoor recreation. There are those challenges. And I'm sure that might be why that you are joining into this conversation today, or maybe what your community is facing. And, there is challenges with, lack of funding, planning capacity. I don't know how many times I've had conversations with, a local chamber, and they're like, we want to do this, but I'm a staff of 1.5 time person. How do we get this happening? And that lack of funding. I wish I could just say, here's all the money in the world, or that there's this amazing grant program. You've got to find them, but they are out there. But sometimes that capacity, it can definitely be one of those challenges that we see, as well as that balance of growth and preservation. Like I said, that same thing. If we don't want to be Jackson, or we like the way that we are, traditional Wyoming, this is how it was 30 years ago. This is how it should be now. I know I deal with that in my own community as well. But balancing that growth, so one, it's sustainable for the community. It's not just oh, for 2 years we've got this great stuff going on and then it died out because so and so left, or nobody else is taking care of it, or the community didn't actually have the buy-in behind it. But finding that balance of growth and preservation of the community, it can sometimes be difficult. But through working with those partnerships and those collaboratives, we've seen a lot of really great things come out of it. And then lastly, those workforce gaps. I think many of you are probably feeling that as well. That's something that we with the J. Kemmer Worth Institute are really focused on. We work very closely with our students on campus, but like I said, working a lot with our already working industry professionals of, how can we help give them the skills to be able to develop this stuff? How can we give them the toolkits and support them where they're at from the university side of things, to be able to make these things happen? And so with that, I will say that there are just a lot of really great projects going on. I was looking at that map earlier. There's some really great Rails to Trails programs going on, a lot of trail development around the state. I know that in my local community in Douglas, they have just done an amazing work of developing a couple miles of trails locally in town for people to use for, mountain biking, for youth sports, for hiking, for running. And it's already within just this last year, year of that development, I've seen this change within our community, and this great partnership of this local nonprofit working with our city organization to develop this into a city park, to see the university being able to step in multiple different aspects to be able to help support this project and support our community, and that there's just so many ways for us to get involved, and that I think that, maybe a little biased, outdoor recreation is such a great opportunity for communities looking to implement something for a great tourism strategy. But like I said, it doesn't come without those pitfalls, or learning by doing, or trying to figure out all of these different challenges. And so before I hand it back over to all of you guys to continue this conversation today, I will say that there are a lot of great resources that we've been able to provide through the Worth Institute. So again, I encourage you to look through our website. One of those that I will highlight is we have a webinar series called the Outdoor Recreation Knowledge Exchange. What we plan and what we try to do within this webinar series, we've run it for 2 years now, is to bring stakeholders from different states. They've been mostly Western states these past couple years, to talk about these different challenges that our communities are facing within outdoor recreation. One of them that I think many of you might be interested in is we've had a few that talk about public-private partnerships, how to make those work, tips and tricks on getting your outdoor recreation idea from an idea to actually happening, as well as we have one on lessons learned. So we were able to focus on several communities where they were able to have a real conversation about, hey, we tried this and maybe it worked or maybe it didn't. And, being able to share that and, have some conversation where it's focused on what can we learn from others, because most likely you are not the first community having to deal with these issues. There are others out there. It's just trying to make those connections. And so with that, I hope that kind of gave you a good idea of what we're doing here in Wyoming, the way that we're supporting our communities, as well as some of the challenges and different things that we're experiencing. But excited to learn from all of you, see if you guys have answers to these questions as well. That's why I love coming together in groups like this. So thank you guys all for having me. I'll drop my contact information in the chat as well. Happy to chat with anyone offline as well, if you want to chat more. So thanks for having me. I'll hand it back over to you, Amber.